I want to talk to you guys. I want to keep this hot take conversation going. The All NBA first team, second team, third team, and defensive teams were announced. The All NBA first team to me, I have no problems with it. Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Giannis, Kawhi, Jokic. Second team, Damian Lillard, CP3, Julius Randle for the Knicks, LeBron James, Joel Embiid. Third team is where it gets pretty dicey. Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, and Rudy Gobert. And a few key names that I didn't mention in those lists: Devin Booker, Jayson Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Kevin Durant, who dropped 49 points last night. Let me just repeat that again. Dropped 49 points last night. Trae Young, Zion Williamson, and Russell Westbrook, who had more MVP votes than 6 players who made those All-NBA teams. So a lot of guys not on this list. I would love to hear your takes. Ayala, I'm going to go with you because you always have some good hot takes to make. Give me your biggest snub and also maybe someone who you think is the most deserving to be in, someone you're the happiest to see make this list.
Well, I want to just, I guess, point out that I did not expect Durant or James Harden to make any of these teams simply because they didn't play enough games. Durant only played 30. Harden didn't play that many more. And as good as they were when they were on the floor, they're not going to make it just simply because of that. Now, Durant, if they base it off of right now, yeah, he'd be on the first team. But I guess 2 people kind of stand out to me. Number 1 is Donovan Mitchell from the Jazz, who had 26 points a game this year, made the All-Star team again, led Utah to the number 1 overall seed. Think about that. The Utah Jazz, who have been, I don't want to say mediocre, I guess. They've definitely been a well above average NBA organization. They're competent. They always have good front office people. They have good players. They make solid trades. And when they do make trades, they don't make them often. But when they do, they're usually pretty good returns on investment. But I thought he was snubbed. And I feel leading to the Jazz to the number 1 seed, being their number 1 guy, that holds a lot to me. And to see Rudy Gobert, now, I have a crazy opinion that I keep off the air, but I don't think Rudy Gobert, like running backs, you can replace people like him. But we'll save that for another conversation. I thought him being on the third team, I get it, the defensive player of the year, and he kind of holds that end of the floor down for Utah. So I understand why, but I think over Donovan Mitchell is a little insane to me. And the other person is your very own, Kelly and Thomas, Jayson Tatum, who, by the way, not making any of these teams, just lost out on $32 million extra in pay. So I feel bad. Okay. I really do feel bad. As a New York faithful, I really do feel bad, but he had a team-wise roller coaster of a season, if I do say so myself. Kemba Walker's in and out of the lineup. Jaylen Brown goes down last minute, and that just kind of blew the season for Boston. You have coaching inconsistencies. There's a very oddly constructed roster, I guess, because the bigs are just, I don't know what they are. Honestly, that doesn't really help him out. And he's kind of, okay, Jason, you're going to do everything. And as great as these players are, he can't do everything. Now, he did have a very good season, over 25 a game, made the All-Star team again. And you know what? I wasn't anything individually that I did not expect, but I think just the team success aspect of it holds him back mightily, even though I think he deserves it over Bradley Beal, whose team finished a single spot lower than them. But you know what? It's so hard to decide these, but those are the 2 people that really stand out to me.
How is Tatum not there? How is Tatum not there? It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. Obviously the Celtics are terrible this year, completely under every expectation set forth for them, just squashed them. And it's not Tatum's fault at all. The fact that they're even a playoff team, the fact that they were somehow able to win a game against these Brooklyn Nets are just ridiculous. And that was all Tatum because he scored 50 and he's a beast. And he's just oh my God. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And the $30 million thing, it's really a shame because obviously this guy gets paid a ton of money, but when it comes to things like these, like these incentives, there's just way too much ratting on such an arbitrary pick, to pick Bradley Beal, who plays right next to, a former MVP and still ridiculous, like, nightly triple-double threat in Russell Westbrook. Tatum doesn't have that kind of help. He has Jaylen Brown, but Jaylen Brown went down, and he's not Russell Westbrook. So, the way that they come to these conclusions, I have no idea. Whoever's making these decisions on the part of the NBA, but that's a ridiculous oversight. And so is Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is on the best team in the NBA record wise. They won the West, and there was never any challengers throughout the season. They just steadily were on top, and that's a drastic improvement from any season that they've had before. And that's completely Donovan Mitchell. I mean, obviously they have a bunch of role players, Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles and even Mike Conley was an all-star this year, but that's Donovan Mitchell's team. He's the reason that they are that good, and he got better this year, which is crazy to think. So I don't know how they leave him off the team when, he's literally about to, maybe make the conference finals. He looks good right now because, Kawhi, but it's kind of, it's absurd. And Devin Booker, obviously, too, that team made huge strides, and that could, you could thank Monty Williams for that. You could thank CP3, who, gets there and they're immediately good. But it's Devin Booker who's the main scorer on that team. He's the reason why they have, all those points on the board. Like, how do you not recognize greatness in just three very great young players who are all stars that were just severely overlooked in this?
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think the results of these all NBA selections really call into question, I think you mentioned this, how exactly they go about determining who makes an all NBA team. I mean, I think Jayson Tatum by far got the most screwed out of this of any player. Yeah, he's losing that extra $32.5 million. And also, he was listed as both a forward and a guard. And so a majority of the votes majority of his votes went to forward. So they put him in the forward position, but a bunch of his votes also went to guard. So that split him in between two positions. So Paul George and Kyrie Irving get nominations, even though Jayson Tatum has more first and second team votes than both of them. So the whole thing is very confusing. Like, should we have positionless voting like they do with all-stars? Is that fair to somebody who plays multiple positions, especially in a league where that is becoming increasingly more common? And then you also have to look at, what you mentioned with Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell. Their teams are the 1 and 2 seeds in the Western Conference. Their teams are still in the playoff race, and it's because of those two individuals primarily. And both those players, aren't being considered for first, second, or third team. And you look at some of the players who did make it, someone like Jimmy Butler. What did Miami do this season? What did Jimmy Butler do this season?
Nothing.
Not
one thing.
I think he averaged less points than every other person that we've spoken about on the podcast, not just this episode, but the past 5 episodes. So why is he there? Why is Paul George there? I mean, there's just a lot of questions. If we want to talk about injuries, why is Kyrie Irving there? There's just, I think, to me, I've come to this conclusion. I think that the NBA puts out this list, the sports writers who determine this list, for the sole purpose to make people like us, to make podcast hosts, sports writers, passionate fans fight. They want us to get mad. They want us to talk about it. They want us to promote it all over social media. And that's exactly what they get. That's exactly what we're doing right now. And for that reason and that reason alone, I'm going to move on to the next topic because I don't want to give them any more. I don't want to give them any more